Lucha Libre is full of iconic factions. Just think of Los Infernales, Los Guapos, Los Vipers, the Hell Brothers, or the Ingobernables. But there's one faction that stands above them all. When fans in the arena heard that barking, there were different reactions. Some cheered, some booed, but everyone paid attention. It was the sound that announced that Los Perros del Mal had arrived. For over a decade, they dominated CMLL, founded their own promotion, and took over AAA. They sold more t-shirts than any top technical and changed the Lucha Libre business forever. Today I will tell you the rise, the tragedy, and the shocking and unexpected rebirth of the greatest faction in Lucha Libre history, Los Perros del Mal. The story of Los Perros del Mal began in 2004 in the CMLL, but its founder had an already impressive career up to that point. Just to begin, he was the son of one of the most iconic luchadores of the 20th century, El Perro Aguayo. He was known for being a fierce Rudo and fighting like a dog against anyone who stood in his way. Pedro Aguayo Ramirez, his son, debuted in 1995. He quickly earned a place in the recently formed AAA alongside his father and other juniors. During his explosive run in AAA, he proved his worth as a main event star. He won the National Tag Team Championships on 2 occasions, once alongside his father and once with his best friend, Hector Garza. He also built a fearsome reputation in luchas de apuestas, betting matches, remaining completely undefeated in hair matches and taking the hair of established veterans like El Dandy, El Tejano, and Cobarde Segundo. He was a central figure in one of AAA's most iconic four-way rivalries, battling against Hector Garza, Latin Lover, and Heavy Metal. In 2003, he made a major jump to the Consejo Mundial de Lucha Libre, the CMLL, as a técnico. However, the demanding and purist crowd at Arena Mexico flat out rejected him, perceiving him as an outsider who was made in AAA. Recognizing this massive disconnect, he decided to follow in the steps of his father and became a vicious Rudo. This was a massive turning point in his career. He thrived at provoking the audience, grabbing the microphone, and enjoying their hatred. He quickly secured his status as a top-tier villain by defeating the highly respected Negro Casas and taking his hair, leaving the entire arena furious. But he knew that if he truly wanted to be seen as a Rudo, he needed to go after the most iconic técnico at the moment, El Hijo del Santo. In 2004, El Hijo del Perro Aguayo won the Leyenda de Plata tournament, which was created to honor the memory of El Santo. El Hijo del Santo was there to give the winner the prize of the tournament, but once El Perro received it, he proceeded to destroy it. To him, there was only one true legend, and that was his father. He told El Hijo del Santo that his father was popular because of the movies, but El Perro Aguayo was famous for what he did in the arenas. The crowd went crazy. No one had disrespected the name of El Santo in such a way, and his son lost no time trying to put El Perro in his place. Now, as an established Rudo and wanting to dominate the CMLL, El Perro needed an army. Originally, he formed La Furia del Norte alongside his friend Hector Garza. But soon they realized they needed something more violent, more extreme. So they allied with La Familia de Tijuana. El Hijo del Perro Aguayo, Hector Garza, Damian 666, Halloween, and Mr. Aguila had created a new team, but they needed a name. They knew they wanted to include the idea of an animal in the name, so they thought of the Hounds of Hell, or they wanted something with the word perros in the name, which means dogs. Recently, Halloween himself said that it was Baby Richard, a referee in the company back then, that gave them the idea of Los Perros del Mal, the evil dogs. It was also him who gave them the idea for the now iconic logo recognized by every Lucha Libre fan. Los Perros del Mal had been born. They made an immediate impact. They had bloody wars against Místico, Los Guerreros de la Atlántida, Los Hermanos Dinamita, and Pierrot. This last one would come out to the ring throwing dog food at them, and once, he even made them eat it in the ring. Los Perros del Mal won the CMLL World Trios Championship and ran over every idol the CMLL had to offer. People saw them differently. Usually, the Rudos were hated and the Técnicos would be cheered without exception. But people actually loved Los Perros del Mal. And another element that became iconic was their entrance song. You would first hear dogs barking, and the arena would go insane. Then the song Perros by Cartel de Santa would start playing, and the aura they had going into the ring was unmatched. You could also see arenas filled with people wearing their t-shirts, and they were unapologetically rudos. In the back of their iconic t-shirt, you could read Dios perdona, los perros no, meaning God forgives, los perros don't. This t-shirt became a cultural phenomenon, comparable only to what the NWO, Austin 316 or Bullet Club t-shirts have achieved in the international market. It's undoubtedly the best-selling t-shirt in Lucha Libre history. In 2008, tensions between two of the founders of the faction reached a boiling point. Hector Garza and El Hijo del Perro Aguayo began a feud that took them to a lucha de apuestas, cabellera contra cabellera, hair versus hair. Los Perros del Mal had sold out the Arena Mexico many times, and on March 21, 2008, once again, the Cathedral of Lucha Libre was filled by fans who wanted to see the match between the former friends. In the end, El Hijo del Perro Aguayo took Hector Garza's hair in a bittersweet victory against the man he considered a brother. By 2008, the pack had conquered everything in El Consejo, but internal politics and creative limitations frustrated their leader. El Perro wanted more. He wanted total control. So he did what no one expected. He left CMLL, took several of his boys with him, and founded his own company, Perros del Mal Producciones. The production was unlike AAA and CMLL. It was a hybrid style between classic lucha libre, extreme wrestling, and pure entertainment. And not only that, Perro Aguayo's drawing power was so massive that he brought legends like El Hijo del Santo, Blue Demon Jr., LA Park, Dr. Wagner Jr., Cibernetico, and even international stars like WWE's Booker T to wrestle in his shows. Booker T even ended up wearing the group's t-shirt, becoming a Perro del Mal for one day. Now, if a luchador appeared in one of the shows, it didn't mean they were part of Los Perros del Mal. They were part of the promotion, but not of the group. Also, there are many luchadores who are counted as being part of Los Perros del Mal because they wore the t-shirt once or tagged with them a couple of times. But the main group that people recognize as Los Perros del Mal isn't as long as the long lists of members one can find online. The independent company was a success, but they still had the other big company in Mexico to conquer. Of course, I'm talking about AAA. And let me just tell you that their arrival to AAA didn't disappoint. On June 6, 2010, in the main event of Triplemania 18, LA Park and La Parca lay destroyed in the ring. They were fighting to see who kept the name of La Parca. Suddenly, Damian 666 and Halloween entered the ring and put LA Park on top of his rival. The referee counted and LA Park won. Then, Los Perros del Mal started walking down the ramp while their music played. Fans were shocked. Los Perros had found a new house. In AAA, Los Perros del Mal cemented their status as a legendary faction. They had a bloody and historic rivalry against Los Psycho Circus, with the pack finally breaking the Clown's impressive and unreal streak of over 600 consecutive victories. They became the biggest rudos in the company, facing the biggest técnicos. El Perro Aguayo even had some hard truths for Místico when he arrived to the company, as well as for Alberto del Rio, both coming from WWE. He told them that AAA was different with Los Perros, and that this was not a kids show like they were now used to. Established in AAA, Los Perros del Mal welcomed Hector Garza again, and in 2012, El Hijo del Perro won the Rey de Reyes tournament with his help. In 2013, he took Cibernetico's hair, and El Perro had become one of Mexico's biggest stars, and being the leader of Los Perros, this elevated all of its members. El Perro knew that the founders eventually would have to pass the torch, and if Aguayo had one thing, it was a great eye for future megastars. Under his protective mantle and boosted by Los Perros brand, he mentored wrestlers who are known all around the world today. He recruited Taya Valkyrie, turning her into the Güera Loca, the crazy blonde, and the female pillar of the faction. He also elevated Daga as one of the toughest wrestlers in the country, and his greatest masterpiece would end up being Pentagon Junior. For some time, everyone thought that the Pentagon character was cursed, but El Perro trusted the man who had decided to put on the mask under the banner of having zero fear of what people said. He gave him the shelter of Los Perros del Mal, taught him how to handle his rudo charisma, to adopt the cero miedo, the zero fear attitude, and to always give hell to anyone who doubted him. There's a match that today could be considered a dream match since it involved Místico as Místesis and Rey Misterio facing El Hijo del Perro Aguayo and Penta. Undoubtedly, El Perro gave Penta the push needed to be seen by the fans, and he did the rest. Pentagon has said many times that he's grateful for what Pedro did for him. Sadly, nothing lasts forever, and the bright light and loud roar of Los Perros would start to fade once tragedy struck. In 2013, the Lucha Libre world learned of the sad passing of Hector Garza. The co-founder of Los Perros del Mal lost his battle with lung cancer and left this world at 44 years old. El Perro didn't just lose a member and co-founder, he lost someone he regarded as a brother. But he knew he had to keep going forward, honoring his brother's memory in the ring. However, on March 21, 2015, during an independent match in Tijuana and in front of thousands of fans, Pedro Aguayo Ramirez, El Hijo del Perro Aguayo, suffered a fatal impact in the ring. In the middle of the match, while everyone expected him to come back and take the win, he didn't move. Agonizing minutes made everyone scared, but the logical thought was that he had faded. Unfortunately, El Hijo del Perro Aguayo wouldn't open his eyes again. That was the last time he would step in a ring. Pedro was 35 years old when he passed away, doing what he loved the most. Now, without its two greatest pillars, the faction was never the same. Although AAA tried to keep the group alive by adding Joe Líder and even keeping Penta, Daga, and Taya for a while, it just wasn't the same anymore. Without El Perro as its face and leader of the faction, the group slowly faded away. By 2018 or 2019, after an appearance where Daga betrayed the group claiming the concept was already dead, the faction basically ended. But you could still see some of the luchadores who were members using the iconic shirt in their presentations. In a way, Los Perros del Mal have never disappeared, and as recently as 2023, Los Perros del Mal made an appearance in AAA with Penta, Nicho, and Halloween as its representatives. Although the faction wasn't truly present in a major way, the truth is that Los Perros del Mal was never forgotten by the fans. You could always see people wearing the shirt at Lucha Libre events, and it was still sold everywhere. Truthfully, Los Perros del Mal didn't die, they were just sleeping. And in June 2026, they arrived to AAA, now managed by WWE, making the faction one of the few, if not the only one that has existed in CMLL, AAA, and WWE. On June 20, in Mérida, Yucatán, El Grande Americano was in the center of the ring celebrating his recent victory in the mask vs. mask match. Suddenly, he was interrupted when a woman started walking down the ramp. Then, four men wearing black hoodies surrounded him in the ring. Amongst them were Daga and two nephews of Hector Garza, Ángel and Berto. The men attacked El Grande Americano, and as they stood above him, they unzipped their hoodies, and there it was, the iconic logo of Los Perros del Mal. As if hit by a switch, the booze changed to a chant, Perros, Perros, Perros. Right there and then, we witnessed the power of a name and logos full of history. The biggest técnico of 2026 had been attacked, and people were cheering for the attackers. Rounding out the group are fresh talent from NXT, the dangerous Carmen Petrovich and the brute force of Bronco Nima. And their inclusion follows the trend that El Hijo del Perro Aguayo set, putting the spotlight on new, promising talent. The fans have received them with open arms. We are eager to see more of them, and we want them to succeed. But only time will tell if our wishes will come true. Fans are already speculating about future and returning members. But the one that is being mentioned the most is Penta. Will he return to the faction that put him on the map and lead them? Or will he reject them and wage war against a faction he thinks doesn't honor El Perro? In a world typically divided by rudos and técnicos, Los Perros del Mal stand on their own. They need no friends and they don't care about alliances. El Hijo del Perro Aguayo managed to create and grow a brand that carries his name and the memory of its members. I'm sure Hector Garza would be proud to see his nephews now wrestling in the biggest company of wrestling in the world. And no doubt he would be their mentor and their leader if he were still alive. For Mexican fans, Los Perros del Mal are present in every Lucha Libre show. There's always at least one fan wearing one of their famous t-shirts. And their imprint is so deep that the barking of a dog in any arena instantly puts people on their feet. And no luchador would even dare to put the word perro in their name. Halloween and Damian 666 are pretty much retired. Mr. Águila still wrestles in independent events. Hector Garza lost his battle to cancer, and El Hijo del Perro Aguayo died doing what he loved the most. Still, what they created in 2004 will be hardly replicated in this beautiful sport. Even as decades go by, current and future fans will never forget them. Every luchador that ever stood against them, and every luchador that ever gets to face Los Perros del Mal in the future will be able to tell you an unchanging truth. That Dios perdona, Los Perros no. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you liked it as much as I liked making it. If you want to learn more about El Hijo del Perro Aguayo and Hector Garza, make sure to follow me since the next videos will be about them specifically. Remember to also join me every Saturday to watch AAA's show together and follow me to learn more about Lucha Libre. My name is Eric and I will see you in the next video.